It's too bad that doesn't say Idaho on the other side.
Right? Or I was left-handed.
Right.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us at Because We Can Farms to Table. So we're going to discuss something today, and we're going to continue this series on Monday mornings is just our coffee chat. Today I'm having a London fog. We've been building the rabbit pen and getting the enclosure to where the colony is really big and that rabbits are so happy. And it just kind of has brought up the discussion of the different types of ways to raise animals. And this morning, while I was getting my coffee and stuff ready, I came across Stivers Homestead's video on the FDA imposing the new regulations. And you know, this is a rabbit hole that I've been going down since I got out of the service. I was 27 years old. Like, just what they're doing to our foods. And I think that we're going to delve into some conversations because that way we can share information. So you guys, if you have links to articles or stuff like that that you think would be really good for people to read, or videos for people to watch, put them down in the comments. I think this is the way that we're going to grow as a community and learn the things that we need to learn. You know, I think it's going to be more and more difficult for us to access that. I absolutely believe that the government is squeezing us out of being able to homestead. Last year they attacked our chicken feed.
Yep.
All of those.
Purina specifically.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and sorry about the dog barking in the background. He hears us talking. He wants to be involved, but he also wants to eat the rabbits. So this is going to be, you know, these videos that I'm wanting to put out. I want to specifically talk about certain topics that relate to homesteading. I'm going to try not to delve down into the rabbit hole of the government, but unfortunately, decisions that are made in Washington affect us.
Yes.
And you guys vote how you want to vote, but become an educated voter. And I think that's all I'm going to say on it. The more that I've learned and the more that I've worked on studying all of the bill of something that's being passed, the more I've learned how things are snuck in. And those things that are snuck in are things like this. I mean, I think they're blatantly doing this now, but back in the day, they used to sneak things like this in that would affect us. And the only way they can control us is to control our food. So one of the reasons that I've always been out in the country is just because I want to be in control of what I'm eating, what's in it, how it's raised, and what they're eating. So, big controversial topic. I do not give my animals yearly shots. I've never done it. They did and it started out with dogs. So I used to breed German Shepherds, and they had this thing called the titers test. And it was new, and you know, people didn't know what it was about, but I showed dogs. And so you would have to take your dogs, your antibiotic record, so their yearly, you had to take your dog's health record.
Kind of like you have to do in school for kids.
When you would go to a show. Well, it was right at the time that they started doing the 3-year rabies shot. And then they also started making available this titers test. And what the titers test does is they take the blood, they spin it down, and they figure out exactly what your animal needs because they don't have a resistance built up to it or an immunity built up to it. I had 3 of my shepherds that I did this with, and over their entire lifetime, they never needed another rabies shot.
That's amazing.
From their, actually, and I didn't even do the three shots, you know. So the whole point about the 3 shots, this is also, I did a big clinic in Dallas with the dogs, is you give 3 shots because you want to just make sure you hit it at the right time to where it actually takes effect and it goes away from the mother's immunity to the shot actually working. So it's not that they needed 3 shots in a row to actually work. They only need 1.
Right.
Or they don't need any because the mother's immunity is strong and it pushes through and it holds over. So all my puppies, they got 1 shot at 16 weeks. And then those 3 dogs that I did this test with didn't need another yearly booster for the rest of their life.
That's why it's really important to have a breeding line that's, you know, prone to, what were you saying earlier?
Okay, so
a healthy breeding line.
A healthy breeding line. So the one thing that he did not mention in his video, because you guys, I'm going to put a link to his video because it was amazing, everything that he talked about. I don't want to repeat everything that he said because then things are repetitive. I want to talk about some things that he did not mention that to me are very important. But you have to choose how long you want your video. So the one thing about the FDA imposing this where you can't purchase antibiotics, you have to go through a vet. So we can't just go to the store and take care of the health of our animals on our own like we've been doing for generations and generations. They've now decided that you have to go to a vet and get prescribed antibiotics. And just really fast, I actually talked to a couple of vets about this, and they are angry about this because they are already so busy that this is going to flood their offices with stuff that don't need to come into the vets, right, is the issue. So we know the vets aren't happy about it. We know the homesteaders aren't happy about it. You know, the
animals aren't happy.
The animals aren't happy. This is going to raise the cost of food because every time, even just your bigger farms have to go to the vet to get an antibiotic, that costs them money. That has to be passed on. So,
and animals are going to suffer in the meantime.
Exactly. So here's one of the reasons why I actually think on the flip side of this, it's going to be a good thing. Because those of us that are small homesteaders, we don't pump our animals full of antibiotics anyway. I liked how he talked about going the herbal route. So there's a lot of herbs and stuff. Like I'll throw pumpkins into the goats. It's like, okay, time to be wormed. Pumpkins go into the goats. The rabbits love them too. And that deworms them. Pine needles, we give a lot of pine needles, and they will go after it. If they are wormy and you throw in pine limbs or Christmas trees or whatever, they will attack it. And it's because their body needs it. But if their body doesn't need it, they won't eat it. So, you know, it works really well. They won't overdose themselves. But we're going to be getting stronger, healthier breeding stock because of the survival of the fittest thought process, where, you know, if you have an animal that is sick all the time, or, you know, they have like most of their litter dies. Let's talk about rabbits. You know, they have 10 rabbits, only 10 babies, and only 7 survive or 5 survive every litter. You need to call those animals out of your breeding program. And because what you're doing, if you're continuing to keep that line, just say, oh, I want that line because she's so pretty and I like the hide or whatever. We are weakening our livestock because we're breeding for looks or whatever. We're not breeding for health. And if you have, you know, I know any of us that are homesteading, we've had those animals that, man, they never lose a baby. Their babies are very healthy. They don't get wormy. That's who you need to be building your breeding program on, is that animal. Because now you're breeding an animal that is naturally resistant to these things. They've built up these immunities in the generations of their lines, and they're healthy, and they're going to stay healthy, and you're not going to have to give antibiotics. They're just not going to get sick. They're not going to have those things. Now, I do have milk goats. I have never dealt with mastitis, ever. I know that is a really big issue in milk cows. But I do have to say, I had a friend who had milk goats, and every single year she had 2 or 3 girls get mastitis. So
what's the difference?
And I'm going to tell you, and actually one of the goats was on my property with me for 3 breeding seasons, and then went to her, and that next year got mastitis. So there's something either going on her farm that's causing her animals to get mastitis. Her routine of milking could definitely be. Now, I watched her milk and I watched her routine. Whether she just did that in front of me, I don't know, but it was the same routine that I was doing. So maybe there's something on her property that is causing mastitis. You know, those. So, you know, it's not always the animal. It could definitely be, you know, the property, there's something that causing that, or your routine of that kind of thing. I personally think cows are way more susceptible to it than goats. I was really surprised with the fact that she had that issue every year. I have never had a milk goat have mastitis ever. Knock on wood. I've been lucky. I don't know, but if I had one that was always getting mastitis, I honestly would take it out of my breeding program. That babies, either one, it would no longer become. It would be cold from the litter. It would be maybe sold to somebody. Let's just say I bought it as an adult, right? And the other owner, first owner, never had a mastitis problem. Comes to my property, it starts having a mastitis problem. Maybe there's something on the property that's causing that. So, I may sell that animal to somebody else or rehome that animal to somebody else, especially if my other goats on the property aren't having that problem. I feel like there could be an allergy. Some animals are reactive to certain things that others aren't. I don't know. So maybe that animal's just not good for your property. I don't know. Yeah. But I think it's going to cause us as homesteaders to delve into that even more, because I think we're doing it already. And I think it's just going to make us delve into it even more. I would not keep an animal on the property that was constantly sick or constantly needed antibiotics, or because you're going to build up a resistance anyway, and that's money, that's time, that's energy.
And honestly, you don't want that in your food anyways. Even if these are the animals that you're going to process, and it's just meat animal, whatever, you really don't want that in your food. You want really healthy animals,
right? The more organic, naturally raised, the better,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, that's the one thing with the rabbits and the colony raising is you're going to build up healthier rabbits, because you're going to be culling any of them that are not staying super healthy. And then you have these, really healthy, genetically healthy animals that you're not having to put a bunch of time and energy into keeping them healthy. They're naturally healthy. Now I completely agree with giving the herbs and that kind of stuff. That's what they're going to find in the wild. If they're wormy, they're going to find that they're going to find pine needles. They're going to find the things that will deworm them. They're going to go for that. We have, I don't know, probably 5 rabbits that escaped as youngins, and they've kind of just grown up. They hang out because we do feed them, and they're very healthy. They're strong. They're healthy. They run around. They feed themselves. They lasted all winter long with no problem. We do throw some grain out because we want to eventually catch them. I don't want to populate the mountain with domesticated rabbits. So they're bebopping around here, and we're going to work on a catching cage for them. But those are healthy rabbits.
And me being a city girl learning all of this, I think it's awesome that you can have animals that aren't being affected by what the government or whoever is putting into them. Like, for instance, back when you were growing up and they were putting hormones into the milk, into the cows, yes. And then young girls were getting their menstrual cycles earlier, or growing their breasts earlier, and all of those things. And you wonder how many other foods are being affected by what the government's putting in. So that's why this is one of the reasons I've changed what I think or how I want to live my life as well.
Well, because they told us that would be cooked out. They told us that wouldn't affect us. That was the big, we're doing this to protect you, and then it's changed all of these things, and just all the food allergies and just all of that stuff. I think I want to delve into each one of those topics on our Monday morning chats. But yeah, we're sick. We're sick as a society. We're for instance, this winter I probably gained 30 pounds over the winter. running to the grocery store and purchasing things at the grocery store and eating just keto. We were trying to do keto. We didn't do a lot of keto, but things that shouldn't be making us this fat. We don't eat terrible.
No.
We eat fairly well for, we do make good, healthy choices. We don't sit around and eat overly processed food constantly all the time.
We weren't as active, but it shouldn't have affected
I
us
would have to
that
say
much.
the things that we probably had on a regular were corn chips and popcorn.
Yeah. And oatmeal, which we don't
eat a lot of it, but I would
normally
say more that those two things.
Yeah.
So, and we physically noticed a difference just in how we felt the next morning. So, and unfortunately they make those foods so that you become addicted to them, and then getting off of them is a real mental, physical struggle, to just stop eating them. And when you're super busy, so those of you that don't know, over on Cause We Can Farms, we're building a homestead here. So from scratch, off of raw land. And, you know, you have to cut things out. You have to say, in order for me to mill this lumber, build this barn, take all of this time, take all of this energy, I need something quick and fast to eat. And that's basically what happened to us last year. And I feel awful. I've gained weight that I don't like. My joints hurt. I'm not sleeping as well as I should be.
We felt the best when we were doing like clean keto.
Yes.
Meat and veggies.
And that's
Really.
we are moving back towards that, and I think I'm going to take you through my own personal process through it, and how one of the big things that I want to do is I want to take the things that I really like, and how can I grow that on my property? How can I keep self-sustainability top of the list? You know, my thought was this won't be a big deal for the next couple of years with just grabbing stuff at the grocery store and eating while we get stuff built. But my energy level is down. My strength is down. You know, I may be heavy, but I've always been very, very strong. And yes, I am 50, so that does affect that. But I'm literally shocked at how big of a health difference that I feel. So that's, you know, again, put down in the comments if you have links and stuff that you think we should look at and read and share and maybe discuss, or any of that kind of things. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing our Monday morning chaps all through the season. We actually record these on Saturday, so this is Saturday for us, but it's going to go out on Mondays. And you know, we don't take a lot of time to just sit and enjoy the view, but that's exactly what we're doing today. We're watching the bunnies in their pen being super happy and having, you know, all of their life being a good day. Have a good day.